Residents who are not directly impacted by fines might see little reason to concern themselves with how fines are levied on their neighbours, especially if they've been insulated from these punitive measures and have enjoyed the benefit of stagnant dues for over a decade. From their perspective, fines could seem like a reasonable approach to discipline rule breakers without affecting their own financial obligations. This can foster a complacency, where as long as they aren't fined themselves, they don't feel any urgency to question the system or stand in solidarity with their neighbours, who are bearing the brunt of the board's revenue generation tactics. However, here are several reasons why these unaffected residents should care and advocate for fair and transparent practices in the use of fines. 1. The financial health of the association is at stake. Keeping dues artificially low for extended periods without regular modest increases puts the association at financial risk. It means essential reserves may be underfunded and maintenance could be deferred, potentially compromising property values in the long term. If fines are being used as a regular source of revenue to offset operational costs, this is not sustainable. Fines should be occasional and corrective, not relied upon as a predictable income stream. This approach creates instability and could eventually lead to a budget crisis that affects everyone. Potential legal repercussions. If fines are being issued arbitrarily or excessively, this could expose the association to lawsuits or regulatory scrutiny. Legal challenges or penalties stemming from unfair or discriminatory practices could lead to additional costs for the association, ultimately impacting all residents if reserves are depleted or if special assessments are required to cover legal expenses. Loss of trust and community division. Targeting a subset of residents with fines breeds distrust within the community, undermining cohesion and fostering a them versus US mentality. A healthy community benefits everyone as cooperation and mutual respect make for a more pleasant, supportive living environment. Divisive practices degrade this atmosphere and can eventually lead to a contentious, unstable community. Setting a dangerous precedent, if the board is willing to target certain residents with excessive fines, it establishes a precedent for arbitrary or even discriminatory rule enforcement. While some residents may feel safe today, there's no guarantee that this won't affect them tomorrow. Boards can change or may start targeting different infractions, leading even previously unaffected residents to be at risk. When rules are enforced unevenly, it reflects a lack of transparency and accountability. Boards that operate this way may ignore bylaw protections or due process rights, meaning that any resident could potentially be penalized without fair warning or reasonable cause. Perception of mismanagement. Potential buyers may be deterred by the perception of an HOA that is financially unstable or reliant on punitive fines for revenue. A community that appears mismanaged or prone to legal battles may have reduced market appeal, impacting everyone's property values. When dues remain stagnant and fines substitute for proper budgeting, critical maintenance may be delayed or avoided altogether, leading to physical deterioration of the property. This ultimately affects the desirability and market value of all units, not just those targeted with fines. Basic fairness. Even residents unaffected by fines should care about fairness. Living in a community means having shared standards and respecting that everyone is subject to the same rules. If fines are issued in a punitive, revenue-generating manner rather than as a corrective measure, it represents an abuse of power. It is in everyone's interest to ensure that their HOA operates fairly and does not wield fines as a weapon. When one group of residents suffers from targeted enforcement, it is an issue that should concern the entire community. Standing in solidarity with affected residents shows a commitment to ethical and balanced governance, which benefits the community as a whole. Addressing and rectifying these practices fosters a healthier, more cooperative environment for everyone. Unaffected residents may feel comfortable ignoring these issues now, but unchecked, these practices could spiral into broader financial, legal, and social problems that would impact everyone in the community. By calling for accountability, transparency, And sustainable budgeting practices, such as modest dues increases rather than relying on fines, all residents contribute to a more stable and equitable community. Advocating for fair treatment of their neighbours also reflects a shared responsibility for the well-being of the association, ensuring that the HOA serves the best interests of the entire community, rather than exploiting vulnerable residents.